Hopping for
Be careful.
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's 420.
It's 420, yeah. I mean, really?
There it is. You do it way better than I do.
Just trying to get me to do my Seth Rogen.
I was.
I mean, yeah, let's hang in a basement. That's cool.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
We're so glad to have you joining us, and we're back together.
You're going to start singing
We're
Reunited?
back.
Oh, God.
Better together. We're back.
Okay, sure.
I'm so excited.
He is excited.
No, you last
You had a good
over the
time?
last month. You had some vacation time. I had some vacation time. We
Yeah.
did some separate episodes, so it's nice to be back as usual again. So
It is.
and enjoying some fine, overly paid for bourbon.
Yes, I hid this away from the guest hosts because
They're not
They
drinking
did
that
no.
overly paid for bourbon.
Actually, a huge thank you to Derek Fonseca and
Yeah,
to
did a great job.
He did a great job in Alan Moreau last week.
Yes.
Did an awesome job too. So it was a lot of fun.
Those guys did a great job as guest hosts and had some great guests on. Dustin Chapin.
Yeah.
that was
Yep.
a great. You guys had a great episode with him. What a fun guy.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
a
it was
fun,
really
fun guy.
really good. And then even having Mike Katrovas back on,
Haven't had
of
him in a
course-
while.
Of course, it was a last minute thing, so he had to bust my balls right off the rip and
Good.
say, "Oh,
Good, I'm glad he did.
Oh, thanks for calling me. Oh, you really wanted me back on? Because you called me 2 hours ago."
Good.
I asked him the day before, but yeah, it was. I had a cancellation.
Mike's a good guy. He's a funny guy
Oh, yeah.
too. So
He came through in a clutch. And you know what the funny thing is? Even though he was on like season 2, he still had more that we could have talked about.
he's one of those guys. He's easy to talk to. Plenty of stories.
He's got a million things going on. He's literally does every job in the world.
When it comes to entertainment,
Yeah.
he's in so many different things between sports and DJing and movies and in comedy. I
Yeah.
mean, he's got 1,001 stories to tell. So he's always a great guest. But
So welcome back, Scotty.
thanks, buddy.
And we are drinking
Missed
the
ya.
Horse Soldier. Well, I won't go that far to say.
Which is a very good veteran-owned bourbon company.
Mm-hmm.
This one has a nice flavor to it. A little bit of a cinnamony taste to it. But very, very good. Very good. So definitely check them out. But we have, I think, the perfect guest for tonight.
You know what? It was a happy accident. It was serendipity and whatever else you want to call it. But I reached out to him. I've wanted to get him on for a while.
We've mentioned him several times.
We've talked about
Several
getting
times.
him on. And then I was like, hey, are you open on any of these dates? And he came back with this one. And I go, how fitting is it that we're having you on 420? This kid, I call him a kid. He's been doing comedy like 15 years, 12 years now. But
we're at the point where
I
we
know.
say kid a lot.
I know. But he's been, he started off, the last time I worked with him it was pre-pandemic, and it was out in the Spire Event Center out in Plymouth or somewhere out there in Mass. And I hadn't worked with him in years, and I totally didn't even recognize him because he has gone through a transformation.
Yes.
He used to be this young-looking, clean-cut kid, and now he looks like Jesus. He's a cross between Jesus from Jesus of Nazareth, but more like Jesus from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he looks like an extra on Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a hilarious comic, and I hadn't seen him in years until I worked with him last, and I laughed so hard at his stuff, and it
Oh,
was
great comic. Yeah.
And you'll understand why we have him on 420 in a little while, but we would like to give a big warm behind the funny welcome to Mr. Matt Barry. There he is.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, buddy. I love it. What is that in the background? Is that a mask?
That's a Jerry Cheevers mask. Yeah, it's signed by
all
Jerry
right.
Cheevers. Yeah, it's a picture of the mask rather. I don't.
Okay.
I do have an actual mask signed by him, or a ceramic one too. Yeah, I'm big into goalies. Like,
Yep.
I got a bunch of helmets right here
Oh,
signed
shit.
by like my favorite
Jerry
goalies.
Cheever. Do you have any Cheever letters?
I don't know what a Cheever letter is,
What is
bro.
a
I'm just a
Cheever
kid.
letter?
From
remember?
Seinfeld, the Cheever letters?
No, I have no idea.
George's
what that
father?
Oh.
Are those my letters from the cabin?
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Yeah, from the cabin.
Very obscure reference.
Yeah, that was because I've watched Seinfeld about 8 times and I didn't even catch that one.
John Cheever.
I just saw Seinfeld for the first time, actually. Just watched through it, my girlfriend and I, like last year.
Really? You
And-
had never seen it? What'd you think?
And your thoughts?
I loved it, and I'm glad I waited because, like, if I watched it I was born in '89, so
Yeah.
you got to be like
You were
30.
born the year it premiered.
You were
Yeah,
born the
so,
year
like-
I started comedy. Yes.
You got to be 30 to appreciate it.
I agree.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
agree.
So I'm glad I waited, and yeah, I found it like super relatable.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
especially as a comedian and a comic writer, you can really appreciate it now because you can see how those guys came up with the most mundane subjects and then picked away at them and tore
Oh,
them apart,
the stuff
which
with
is what
Ken
we do when we
Banya.
come up with jokes.
Yeah, and like every comic's got their Kenny Banya, where you're just like, why do people think this guy's funny? You know?
Yes, yes. Yeah. It's why do they call it Ovaltine? It's not round.
It's not oval, it's round. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Gold.
Because we all know that comic that says, "Oh my God, I crushed last night," and then you never see them crush. It's always the night before you worked with them that they crush.
We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
Or you
That's
get that
awesome.
one surreal show with them where you do terrible and then they do crush, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, this is it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I alluded to it earlier. How long have you been doing comedy?
12 years. I started September 7th, 2011.
Okay. And where did you grow up? Did you grow up?
So, yeah, I'm from New Hampshire. I grew up in Hudson, New Hampshire, which is like southern New Hampshire, like almost Massachusetts.
Right.
So
How's the comedy scene in Hudson?
Soho's got some good shows, actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm headlining there on July 20th. Go see me.
Yeah. Where are you going to be? A Chunky Cinema?
I have other chunky. No, Soho is the
I
one.
love Chunkies.
But
They're fun.
yeah, I got a couple chunkies coming up. They're
Yeah.
fun. They can be tough sometimes because that room's like
Yeah.
designed to absorb sound, so like the laughs go away right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer headliners in the DoubleTree much more than the Chunky shows.
Oh yeah, I mean you're so much closer. You're so much more intimate to
Yeah.
everyone. But not to say that Chunkies are bad shows. They're still great
No,
shows.
no,
Like,
it's just sometimes they're a little harder to get.
my favorite
momentum.
thing, which I don't know if we mentioned, Chunkies is a movie theater, and
Yeah.
my favorite thing working a Chunky show is watching a comedian do it for the first time.
Yeah.
Where like they do the first joke and the laughs dissipate super fast, and then they get all freaked out and they're like, "Oh, I guess we'll just go to the next one."
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just different. It's different even from a regular like theater.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? A theater, you hear that it's not made to absorb the sound. It's made to have this big sound.
Yeah,
but it rolls up to the back.
it lets
of the
sound
audience.
carry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with most theaters, you have the exact opposite problem where it's like you do a theater show, you tell a joke, you have to wait so long for the
Right.
laughing to be done to get to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah. So where are some of the other places in Soho that you play in? Is it like some of Mike Katrobis's places, like the Vineyards, or
I
looking at his
did.
book?
I got it written down. Yeah, I'm doing a couple of Chunkies, the Nashua Chunkies, May
Yep.
6th and June 10th. Headliners proper in DoubleTree in Manchester, June 24th. Whim Brewery in Hampton, June 30th coming up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's nice. I also got some, further away stuff, like heading up to Maine this summer for some shows, which will be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Now, Maine in the summertime is a lot of fun.
I haven't been.
Some
Good crowds up there, and that's a lot of fun. Now, let me ask you, Matt. When in 2011, when you started, what was the reason you tried it for the first time? Was it something that you'd always aspired to do? Was it because we've had people that said, I never even thought about it until my friends dared me to do it?
Yeah, I mean
there's 1,000 different reasons. So what was your reason for trying comedy that first time?
Yeah, my friends wanted to do it. So 2011, it was the year my friends and I, we all moved home from college that year. And I had one friend who went to school in Manchester where there was an open mic at the Shaskeen, and it was like,
Oh, yeah.
15 comics, and it was a contest. The winner would get $50. And so my friend Alex he did it a couple times in college. So my other friend Max was like, oh, we should go to that place and do comedy, and that'll be our thing. We go, we do one show. And your first set is always like surprisingly good because your expectations are low. And it's also like, it's the classic band first album, second album conundrum where like your first set is the amalgamation of everything you've had to that point.
Right.
So went pretty well. We all sign up again for the next week. My friend Max gets a job in New York, moves away like 2 days later. My friend Alex has to do family stuff. I have to go to the next show by myself, and did it by myself. And on that show, I noticed that I feel like comedy is like a very personal journey. Yeah. And it very much felt like, oh, this is something that I'm going to have to do alone if I want to get good at it. Because if you start with a bunch of bros and you're all hyping each other up, like, oh, no, that was great, man. Like, they just didn't get it. Like, you need to – the confronting your own suckiness is just such a core part of it. And so from that point on, it was like, no, this is just me. And, ask people there, like, what are other shows? And it never even occurred to me that local comedy and national comedy are the same, that it's all connected and it's the same business. So like, I thought it was just like, this is just guys trying to be funny at a bar and that's all it is.
Right.
And then
guys
I'm like,
who want to actually build a career and work up and have that ladder go up to the point where they are like the national acts.
Exactly. And I'm like, I'm starting to hang out on shows and I'm hearing people be like, oh yeah, I did this gig, you paid this. And I'm like, people are getting paid for this, like even around here. And then even when I got my first paid gig, I was like, you're an idiot. Like I would have just done this for free.
We say that all the time. The first time someone hands you $25 to do a spot, you're like, holy shit, I get paid
I just
do
did
this?
this for free at a bar last week. And now you're paying me at this bar only because it's not a Tuesday night? Because it's a Friday, I get paid?
This is awesome.
Yeah, right. It's awesome.
And then, you flash forward 10 years later where you're like, oh, do I want to do comedy tonight?
Yeah,
Am I getting
right.
paid? Yes, I'll go,
Yeah, right. Exactly. How much am I making tonight? All right. I guess I'll leave this cookout. Those are the worst, is like in the summer, especially when you're at like a family cookout or a friend's cookout and everyone's just starting to ramp up at about 6, 7, and you're like, I gotta go. I gotta
bail.
Show.
Yeah,
and everyone thinks it's so glamorous, and they don't realize like you'd much rather be hanging out drinking at the cookout the rest of the night.
Yeah, it's like you're working the time that most people hang out.
Right. Yeah.
Now, you
like getting lunch with people.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, so you did that first show with you two buddies. They got jobs, had stuff like that. Are either one of them still doing comedy?
Nah,
right.
Neither one really ever went. I think they might have done like one or two other sets, but they didn't like latch onto it like I did.
So what was the thing that propelled you forward that made you say, I got to keep doing this?
It was just like, it was that creative outlet. And as much as I never like thought about being a comedian, like I watched comedy as a kid and like just Comedy Central and stuff, but I went to film school. That was the dream.
Okay.
Like I was like, oh, I always liked writing stories as a kid. And then as I got older, I was like, book writers aren't famous enough. There's not enough of there's not enough rock starness in writing novels. So I want to make movies and that's going to be my thing. And I went to film school. And so I was always like creative. And then obviously like I worked in Atlanta doing like PA stuff for like 6 months. Student loans went into repayment and had to move back. And so like comedy became that creative outlet. And whereas film's such a team effort. Like, it's so amazing that any movie ever gets made.
Because there's so many moving parts,
Yeah,
right?
you need like 100 people to make this thing happen, and all this scheduling needs. But comedy's just you, and it's just you and no one else. And you're gonna write it, you're gonna perform it, and so that's why I really stuck with it. And it had that kind of pureness and that kind of like, I don't need anyone else to make this work. I can make this work if I want this to work.
Right. Because
whereas
I only have to depend on me.
Yeah. Whereas like movies, it's like I got to get a lot of shit. What's the swearing policy here?
Oh yeah, you
Go for it.
Okay, I got to get a lot of like shit in line if I'm going to go about doing that. And I'm not good at getting shit in line, you know? I'm good at, I can show up. That's fine.
I can't plan shit ahead of time.
I'll be
show up?
here.
Yeah.
Other than that, I can't promise anything.
I'll show up.
I like that. I'm good at being here.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
Do you under skills on his resume? Good at being there.
Good at being there.
Yeah, if you need
shows up.
someone to show up, be on time.
I'm
Yep.
your guy.
Yeah.
Not sure what I'm supposed to do once I get there, but if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. Yeah.
I'm your guy.
You're a worker bee.
Exactly.
No, that's good because and that's a common story that we hear from a lot of people that like we call it your class. When you started, there was a group of people that you'd see at a lot of open mics and a lot of stuff like that, and out of them, 10 to 15% of them are still doing comedy, and the
Yeah,
rest
and
have fallen off and don't do it anymore. So something has to propel you to go forward because, like you said, that it's your journey. And you got to be willing to go out several nights a week. You got to be willing to, stand up there on those nights when it's not going well. You got to be willing to try to fix those jokes that aren't working and write more stuff and build your act and keep and drive 2 hours for that $25 spot or no money spot. And, you got to be willing to do all that type of stuff. So it's not an easy thing to do in the beginning to build towards that. So something propels all of us to get in the car all the time and do that.
Still do it. Yeah.
And you need to love that part. Like I know you meet some people when they kind of start out and they're acting like, I'm gonna grind this out and then it's gonna be good later on. Then I'm gonna really have fun after I grind all this out. And it's like, no, this is the part you should be loving. Like you need to learn to like you go, you bomb, you come home, you had a great night. You had fun bombing, it was interesting bombing. You don't go home and be like, oh my God, I bombed. Like
No,
you have
you have a great experience because I'll tell you right now, you look back and I've been, he's 21 years, I'm 34.
Something like
34 this
years.
year. And I'm like, God, I look back on some of those shit gigs up in Western Mass going to Amherst to play at a Chinese restaurant, and I love thinking back to those
I thought
things.
you were going to say a Chinese bowling alley.
No, Chinese restaurant. What Chinese bowling alleys do you know?
I thought you were going to combine things,
No.
all the different places we've done. No, and we've been lucky enough to talk to a bunch of people you started with, to some of the people that I started with. And when we start reminiscing about the places that we used to go to like when Mitch Stinson was on and him and I were reminiscing because we started at the same time and we would go to the same place every Wednesday night and we're reminiscing about it. We had a blast.
Yeah.
We had a blast watching all of us try our different stuff and bombing and doing different things and stuff like that. And you, when you had guys come on and you talk about back to the
Periwinkles
days with the group of people that came up through there and everything, that was the most fun we ever had. When you start to work your way up, like 21 years in, a lot of times I drive to a place, I wait, I do my spot, and then I drive home. I don't have that same camaraderie anymore, that same hang, that stuff that we used to have back then.
And as you work up to headlining, you also don't get to see the people.
Right.
That not only the people that headline that were at your level, but the people you used to open up for. Like I haven't worked with Mike Donovan, Mike McDonald. Haven't worked with those guys in years. That's why we had them on the podcast a couple of years ago, and it was so awesome because I hadn't seen them in so long.
Right.
Because once you get to headliner, you're not working with other headliners most time, unless you have like a massive killer showcase, that's
Yeah.
put together where there's all headlines.
And you must be starting to notice that now that you're 12 years in, where a lot of the guys you hung with when you were coming up, you don't see as often because you've moved up in the shows.
Yeah, and also like the way it is up here, like the type of show, like if you're gonna be the paid comedy audience isn't the young 25 we're going out every night having fun audience. And so like it's one of those things where it's like if you want to make money off this, like you're hanging out with like 45-year-old dudes all the time.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly, yeah.
You're right.
And so I don't like the dudes I started in the open mics with, like there was a lot of guys I started with who were just like, I don't want to do those shows, like they were like, I'm too like weird for that. And that's cool. Like, I mean, embrace who you are, like
know your audience.
Who were some of the people that you started with that are still doing it?
So Francis Birch, I started with. He's one of my best friends. Funny story, Francis is so Francis started probably like 8 months after me. And like when you have like that starting class, that like 10 or 15 guys are always around, I was one of the good ones, not to be a dick, but like
I get it. Yeah.
You know that there's like a hierarchy in that.
Oh yeah,
so
yes,
like,
absolutely.
And so Francis like aggressively like would not let me not be his friend. Was just like, I'm hanging out with you. You were so funny, dude. Like, and so
you and me, we're buddies, right? We're buddies.
Yeah, it's just like he forced himself on me, and now 10 years later, he's one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's doing it. There's a guy Jay Shinoyne who's up in New Hampshire, very punk rock guy. He's very funny. Paul Landwehr. Guys
another funny comic.
We've worked
another very funny comic.
We've worked with him. In fact, we went and did an investigation at the Conjuring House about a month after he had done one. And, he took a picture in the library, and then we took pictures in the library and sent it to him.
Any spooky shit happen when you guys go?
Yes.
Yeah, we can't talk about it though because we've got
every October we do a whole month of paranormal stuff.
Yeah, you got episodes for that.
Yes, and the stuff.
See, now you're hooking me in as a listener. You got me on as a
That's
guest.
what we want,
like,
man.
You gotta come back for that shit, man.
So October we will reveal what we found at the Conjuring House. So. We have to wait for that. But yes, there were several moments that we call it Scottober because I hate paranormal investigations.
Yeah.
I've
gotten him on 2 now.
And he's brought me to 2. The very first episode we ever did on paranormal, Tom Stewart, comedian from down here, he used to be a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, he had a radio show about it. Or
he has a podcast that does very well. And he brought in some of the evidence that he's gathered on investigations. And our very first episode was called Scott Shits His Pants, just to give you an idea. So
because it was the first time in like 5 years or 4 years that all of a sudden Tom and I are talking. And I realized that Scott hasn't said a word in like a half an hour. And I look over and he's dead quiet. Beads of sweat on his head. I go, dude, you okay? He goes, I don't like this shit. And what do we do as friends? When we find out that our friend doesn't like something,
you destroy him for that.
We force it down their face. So we've had some pretty good paranormal type guests over the past.
Oh yeah, he's taken it easy on me by having Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters on. We've had Andrea Perrin, who grew up in the Conjuring House, on. They go all in with like the top tier guests. That you might as well have Linda Blair on at this point.
Listen, if I could get her, I would. We got David Naughton, who was the main guy in American Werewolf in London. He was the guy that actually turned into the werewolf.
Yeah, that was actually a really fun episode.
Yeah, because it was a real paranormal.
That was my favorite paranormal episode ever.
You know who I'd love to get, but I know we'd never be able to get him. But if he's listening,
Ghostbusters?
No, I want to get Ash. I want to get Bruce Campbell.
Bruce,
yeah, I'd love to get him on. But I'm working on some people.
So anyway, yes, that's the fun they have at my expense. So
it went from one spooky thing in October to an entire month dedicated to.
And one of our loyal listeners came up with the name Scottober, so we call it Scottober.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be tuning in for that.
Yeah. if you're into that stuff and you have anything you can contribute, maybe you can kind of sit in on one of the episodes.
Yeah,
come
if you want to
October.
come down one day and and sit.
I
in on
usually
one.
don't fuck around with ghosts.
You're a smart man, Matt
Smart
Berry.
man.
Smart man.
Dude, that's why I was asking what was behind you because it looked like a Jason mask. I
Yeah.
thought it was a Jason mask.
From
I
this
love
far
horror
away.
Movies. Horror movies are my thing, but like when you get in a real life ghost, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this. Andrea Perron, when we had her on, she said some of the stories she told them when they were making the first movie, The Conjuring, they couldn't use because it would have made it a NC-17 rating.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It would have been
'cause
even scarier.
She said some of the real stories was scarier than what they showed in the movie.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, fuck that. Okay. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. But we digress.
But we get off on that subject all the
So-
time. But anyway, let's talk to Matt about
So,
his career.
When you were growing up, were you an only child? Did you have siblings?
No, I got 2 younger sisters.
2 younger. Wow.
You're the
So-
oldest?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, you're a rarity. You know that.
Because we can
Really?
count.
Oh yeah.
We
The
can count
younger
on
ones
2
we make fun
hands.
of.
I don't think we've reached 10 yet. In
No.
7 years, almost 7 years,
Probably
we have not
7.
reached 10 comics that are the oldest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Usually
you
it's
see,
the
way it
middle
went in
child
my
or the
family,
baby.
It,
But he
so
had
the
2
way-
sisters.
True.
So the way it went in my family is like basically my parents got better with each kid. So like, they did pretty good with me until I was like 10 years old, and
Then they
I
gave up?
started going astray. And then my sister, she was good until she was like 14, and then she started fucking up. And then the when they got to the last one, she's like a great kid.
Yeah.
Now what does the youngest sister do for a living?
She is the director of operations at a
Here
like
we go.
fancy spa in Beverly Hills where they do like
Oh, yeah.
collagen injections too.
Yeah,
Okay.
Something like that.
You
And-
could have stopped at the word director.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any title with director in it is
right.
successful. And the middle, your other sister?
She processes mortgages.
All
Just
right.
had a kid,
Okay.
too.
Yeah,
She's-
so she's in the financial industry. And here's Jesus Boy who tells dick jokes on the weekend.
yeah, exactly.
Yep. But he was voted #1 bar comic. Right?
Oh, wow.
That was a contest. Yeah.
Yeah.
we,
Got
we all
that.
define success differently.
Got $500 for that.
Eat that
Which at the
Beverly
time
Hills collagen injector.
Yeah.
That
right.
was most of the money I had made off of comedy at that point.
Right? Oh, that's crazy.
No, normally we talk a lot about how usually the oldest is the high achiever, and then it falls off slowly from there. And because a lot of times we'll talk to comics and they're the middle or the youngest, and usually the oldest is like a surgeon or a general in the army or a lawyer, and then the next one down is like a manager,
yeah.
and then the youngest is joke boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But your family did it the opposite. They still
Yeah.
did the same formula, but just in opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Now, Ace, you have like 8 brothers and sisters, right?
No.
well, his brother makes up for about 6 of
Yeah,
them.
right. No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were
No.
like part of a huge family. or something.
No, I have one younger
Being
brother.
Italian, surprisingly, no.
I know. I have one younger brother and 2 older sisters. So I think I found out me and Tony V are similar because Tony's got 2 older siblings and 1 younger as well. He's the 3rd out of 4. That's about the only similarity between me and Tony V because I know you were thinking it.
You cut me off before I had a chance to say.
I know, you
And
bad.
Scott, do you have siblings?
I have a younger sister.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I have a younger sister who I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I'd be afraid
And
of her too.
Ace met her.
Yeah, I met her a couple
She's
of
a
months
general
ago.
manager of this bar and grill place, and
Oh, yeah, you gotta be a hard person for that.
the bouncer at this place is afraid of my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, she takes no shit from anybody, anywhere, at any time.
No,
so
you could tell.
Yeah, it was a very different childhood growing up with her. She's always been like that. So
I was looking at your bio because obviously we worked together a couple of times, but not a lot. So what is some of the high points in your career? Like, what are some of the shows that you were on where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm working with this person, or I can't believe I'm playing in this place that I always wanted to.
or what was that first big moment for you?
Yeah.
You were like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here with this person.
Besides working with me at the Spire Center for the Arts.
I think I worked with Matt. Did we work together at the Gold Room in Portland?
Probably. I used to
I
do
think
Gold
that's
Room
where
a
I
lot.
worked with you for Steen at the
also
Gold
worked
Room.
together at the Brouhaha in
Yes.
Connecticut.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
because that was his home.
I
club.
worked there quite a bit. Yeah.
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 They used to give you a lot of food there.
That place was great for the food. Yeah.
Except for
It
steak.
was real good there.
No steak though.
No steak.
No steak.
Yeah.
That was on the sign.
That was on the wall. No steak. Very
right.
important.
No. So what was some of your favorite places or people to work with?
So the big ones, I got to work with Tom Green for like a whole weekend once,
Oh,
which was a
wow.
lot of fun.
How was he?
Really nice, super
That's
nice
good.
guy.
Stage, he's not like a whack job.
He's a
off
little
stage.
weird. He's a
Yeah.
little out there. Basically on every show, he would be talking to the other comic backstage, the 3 comic shows,
Yeah.
and I would introduce him, but he would finish his conversation with the feature act. Oh, who was Brian Bowden? I think Brian Bowden.
Brian Bowden,
and
yeah.
would finish talking to him before he came out, and so I'd have
you're
to be there for
stalling.
like 25 seconds, being freaked out, like what's going on.
Right.
And then he'd pop out and give you a look and go. But yeah, anytime I talked to him, like always like looked at me like almost overly attentive. Like this guy's actually listening to everything I say right now.
Right. Well, and that's probably why he was finishing his conversation with Brian, because when he's talking to someone, he's fully engaged in the conversation, listening.
Yeah.
But it sucks when you wait in that 25 seconds going, where the fuck is Tom Green?
Yeah, and I think but
That's
it got a
intimidating.
laugh too. So it was, but yeah, that was a moment. Like that's probably like the most famous person. Like I worked with Gilbert before he passed away.
Oh,
that
was his dream, and he never got the chance.
That was
really?
my dream. And it's funny because I think I don't know if I actually reached out to Steen or if I had thought about reaching out to Steen, because I was just like, I've been doing this friggin' impression of him for 30 something years. I do an impression with him and Bobcat Goldthwait. And I opened for Bobcat in Boston at the old Comedy Connection at Faneuil
nice.
Hall. And I pussed out. I didn't do that bit because he was so trying to, like, after talking to him, he was trying to get away from that character, and I didn't feel it was right to do it in front of him, because then he gets up there and people are yelling out, and I didn't want to put him in that position, so I didn't. But I know if I ever got to work with Gilbert, I would have done it, because he wouldn't have given a shit, because he was still, he still was clearly in that character. What was it like backstage? Because just from the documentary I watched and all the stories I've heard, he was just so awkward but nice.
He was quite awkward. I didn't talk to him very much. It was very apparent that he was really tired and clearly he was very polite, took a picture. I was like, really honored to be here. But after that, I could tell he kind of just wanted to like chill by himself for a little bit. So we went over real quick. Like he took a little bit to get off stage at the time. So we went over like which merch I was going to plug for him. Like, oh, he's got this book, he's got this DVD, to kind of iron that out. But other than that, it was polite, cordial, do the job real quick, and then I'm going to kind of get out of his hair.
Yeah. Was he sick when you worked with him, or like you said it took him a while to get off stage?
No, he was just old and like took it to, and wasn't great on the stairs and stuff. Was shuffling about a little bit. But the thing with those shows, like the way I was very young at the time, like because the way Rob books it is, you can't put anyone too good, and because Gilbert is great. But a lot of people who go to see Gilbert don't know what he did. Like, there's a lot of people who are like, we're going to go see the Aladdin bird.
Yeah, right.
The act Gilbert does is, let me not be Aladdin bird.
Exactly.
And so he walks a lot of people. So you don't want someone to go and like hit a home run in front of him, because there's always going to be a little bit of a divisiveness when he goes on.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's
Let me tell you what Aladdin shoved up
Jasmine's ass.
Jasmine's ass.
Well, that was like Bob Saget when he was doing Full House,
Right.
and he said that all of a sudden when he first started touring, when he first started doing Full House, he walks out on stage and people in the audience with their kids, because they're like,
they
oh, it's
thought
Danny Tanner,
Yeah, Danny
and he's out there telling these just absolutely horrendous jokes, which I think is, as comedians, we're laughing our ass off at the thought of it. But can you imagine how horrified these people are that there's the ultimate American dad telling these absolutely horrendously dirty jokes.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure it was the same way. Like, I just rewatched Bumping Mics on Netflix. Have you ever watched that?
Yet. No.
You got to watch it.
Check it out.
Jeff Ross and Dave Attell, they did 3 nights at the Comedy Cellar. And basically, it's like roasting each other. And whenever they tell a good one, they bump their mics together like a high five.
Yeah.
And I think it was the second night, Gilbert's there, and he comes out and he tells one of the most filthy jokes I've ever heard. Did you watch it?
No, but I can only imagine.
He tells one of the most filthy jokes. I'm talking even filthy for him. And the crowd is falling
worse
apart.
than the Aristocrats.
Yes. It is one of the most filthy jokes I've ever heard in my life. Bob Saget's there. He gets up, tells a few filthy jokes, and then at the end of the episode, they all go out to eat for a giant pastrami sandwich together, and they're basically just busting each other.
Yep.
And I'm like, as a comedian, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because no prepared material, just getting up on stage as a bunch of comics, busting each other's balls, having a blast, and then going out and grabbing a bite together.
Yeah.
That's what we would all just love to do for the night. You know what I mean? And
Gilbert was just in it for the pastrami sandwich at the end.
because they have him intro the two.
Remember when Mark Riccadonna was on? He was
Yeah.
like, there was supposed to be a breakfast involved, I believe.
But they had Gilbert intro them,
Yeah.
and then they had him outro them, and that's when he tells this horrific
Yeah.
joke. And I'm dying watching the people in the crowd like hold their mouths and stuff like that. You guys have to watch it. It's well worth it.
I'll check it out because David Tell's like an all-time favorite. His the Skanks for the Memories album is my number one comedy
Dude,
album.
you will love it. You will love this series on Netflix. They film all 3 nights and show all of them. And Dave Attell just sits there and just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. He's brilliant. They both are. They both are because they're such in their element. But so Gilbert, that was probably your biggest one. You think?
Yeah, I mean, to me,
Him and Tom
Green was a
Green.
bigger figure than Gilbert. I know Gilbert's probably objectively more famous, right? Like,
Right. Oh, yeah. Gilbert is the bigger name.
I don't know. I mean, that's pretty
I
damn
worked
close.
with Uncle
'Cause-
Joey from Full House too,
Yeah.
so he's up there.
You
You
did.
worked with him too?
Yeah, back in again, Comedy Connection Faneuil Hall, I opened for him a couple of times, and even down in Providence. And it's funny because my kids have absolutely no interest in my comedy career. They could give a good shit who I meet, what I do. But when I ever showed them the picture, because again, I opened for him way back in like the 90s when like Full House was just ending.
Yeah.
And so, you didn't have a cell phone. People were literally taking pictures. Like Dana, who used to be the manager of the Comedy Connection, was taking pictures, and that's how I ended up getting it. When my kids ever saw that picture, they were like, "You worked with Uncle Joey from Full House?" That's the only thing that that actually impressed them. Until I worked with, what's his name, Louis Black.
Oh, I love Louis Black.
Only because
The Disney movie.
only because of Inside Out, the Disney movie where he played Anger. That's the only reason that they know him.
And for me too, with my kids, the only thing that ever impressed them early on was when I worked with Jeff Garland.
Yeah.
And they had seen Daddy Daycare.
Daddy Daycare, right.
And that's all they care. And when I told him that, he starts laughing and he just goes, "Some things, my friend, you do for the paycheck."
Yeah, exactly.
And that was a very good one. You know, it's
It's only when I work with people who've done animation that my kids.
well,
get
you know,
impressed.
my kids are older now, Matt. They're all in their one's going to turn 30 this year, but the others are in their 20s, and now they're starting to become fans of actual comedy.
Right.
And like one of them the other day, she goes, "Have you ever heard of this female comic?" And she shows me this female comic, and I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen her stuff online." She goes,
Yeah.
"If you ever have her on, I'll come in studio with you."
Who is it?
I forget her name. I've seen a lot of her videos and stuff like that.
On
but-
Reels and stuff. How old is she?
Young.
Is it
She's-
Taylor Tomlinson?
No, Elise
good at-
Myers.
Oh, Elise. I love Taylor Tomlinson. She's
Yeah,
Taylor
really,
Tomlinson
really funny.
is hilarious.
Yeah, I love her take.
and
on
Kelsey
stuff.
Cook.
Yeah.
That's one of my daughter Kelsey's favorite. But Elise Myers is her name.
Oh, all right.
She has
We'll
a
have to look her up.
podcast. She's got a huge TikTok following, and she's a very funny comic.
I'm sure she'd love to come on here.
Yeah. She's got a top 10 comedy podcast. I'm
Hey,
sure she'd come on the
we're a-
Acement.
We're a top 10,000.
Hey, we're 177 in Vietnam. Oh yeah.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Billy Bob beer, top beer of Vietnam.
All right, we're losing Matt. Let's see. He's like, what am I watching? These two idiots.
I'm proud of you guys climbing to the top of
That's right.
the middle of those Vietnam charts.
Yeah,
That's right.
Exactly.
Out of 188 podcasts in
Yeah, we're
Vietnam,
172.
we're 177, bitches. Yo, Clinkies.
Yeah. Well, we were big in Myanmar, but then we lost them. I don't know what happened.
Well, there's only 8 people that live in
Well,
Myanmar.
True.
You got to go do a show for them.
Oh, they're going to get us to Vietnam.
Exactly.
2024. We're
Yeah.
doing the Behind the Funny tour in Vietnam.
Vietnam. No.
2 stops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matt, you want to be on the tour?
We're going.
You know what? I'd like that on the resume. Did
All
comedy
right.
in Vietnam.
Sure.
How
Right
cool
now,
would that
the most
be?
exotic places.
Let's
like
be
Connecticut.
serious. How cool would that be? I
yeah.
toured Vietnam. 1 stop.
Yeah, one stop, in and out, real quick, because they were rocket testing just to the north of us. I ain't messing with that. So I don't know. We just went off on a tangent.
I
lost my place.
those are some of my favorite things. So, all
I
right.
feel
we-
like I was reading a good book, and then the fucking book fell out of my hands and closed.
No. We were talking
Let's
about
get
Tom
back on
Green.
track.
We were talking about Gilbert.
Yeah.
You know, 2 amazingly funny people. And
Of course.
anytime we bring up Gilbert, I love it because I get to hear Ace do his Gilbert, which I personally think is his best impression, other than
Well, you know,
his Norm Macdonald. That's
I'm just gonna be known as the guy that does a lot of dead guys.
yeah. His dead guy impressions, awesome. Nails them
I got
all.
a whole set on dead guys.
So, you guys want to hear dead guys?
Oh, I can't wait
you
to
wanna
hear
hear it?
Seinfeld in like 10 years.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I know. What's the deal with that? This guy's dead. No.
So we haven't quite explained to the audience because we said at the beginning,
Yeah.
why we had Matt on 420.
Well,
Well, they can see
because-
me.
Yeah, he goes, look at me.
Like,
I'm in a dark attic
Well, you could be vegan
with a Michael Myers mask behind me.
You could be vegan.
Yeah,
That's
what
why
it
you
is.
look that way.
Yeah, no. He's drinking water. Leave him alone. I mean, well, that
Gotta
was
stay hydrated,
a
you know?
Seth. That was a
That,
was
so,
a
some of
non-
that water might be poured into something later.
I was just gonna say, yeah, yeah, exactly. So
You are self-proclaimed.
Yes, actually, like I didn't know I had to drop off my girlfriend before this, and
Yeah.
I didn't know like if it was cool to be smoking weed on the air. So I
Oh.
like
Yeah,
the
no one
5
gives a
minutes
shit.
before I got on, I was just like smoking this joint, like like was trying to get it down before it went in because I want to be like a professional, you know.
So he's
No, that's fine.
I want to be as high as I can. 10 minutes later.
Dude, last Saturday I was flying home from Las Vegas and I wanted to sleep on the plane, so I ate a couple of edibles before we were getting ready for takeoff, and then they delayed the flight. So I mistimed it, and then they delayed the flight again. So it got delayed for 6 hours.
Oh
so
my gosh.
I'm sitting in Las Vegas airport,
Rocking.
stoned out of my skull for 3 hours before we got on the plane.
Oh my God.
On these gummies that I had gotten, that I put in a nice little container that looked like actual just gummy bears that I
Yeah,
brought
of
with
course,
me.
yeah.
And I'm sitting there just watching people going by giggling as I'm waiting to get on my plane.
But it's Las Vegas. You're probably not even the only guy doing that.
Dude,
my God, are you
in Las
kidding?
Vegas, the cabs had wraps on them advertising that they would take you to the
dispensaries?
dispensary to pick up stuff.
Wow.
On the cabs outside of the casinos. So, yeah, who gives a shit anymore? Seriously.
No,
it
no
is
one
what it
does.
is.
Listen, my son goes to Johnson and Wales for culinary arts.
Oh, nice.
He just met with his advisor because he wants to change. Because guess what Johnson and Wales has? They have an entire fucking major on cannabis studies
Of course, at the culinary school, right?
at the culinary school. Exactly.
Oh, dude!
And I told him,
I
said,
ate some of his mac and cheese earlier that he made for us. I think I'm feeling something.
No, I told him. I said, "Listen, man, listen, you're doing it because you're an 18-year-old kid, but I know you're kind of ahead of the game because there's
absolutely.
already restaurants, fancy restaurants in Vegas and LA and
Yep.
Miami and
Yep.
that already have cannabis infused, salad dressings and desserts and shit like that."
Yeah.
So it's if you're gonna make it, learn how to make it from the people who are going to be
The
able to-
experts.
yeah, the experts.
That know how to make it
Before
correctly.
The industry
Yeah.
gets 20 times bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, because there may be a calling for, restaurants all around the world that want cannabis trained chefs. You know,
Yeah.
So, have you always been a connoisseur, or is this something you've grown into?
Nah, this started in film school actually. Like
Really?
my dad's a cop, or he's a retired cop now, so I was like petrified.
Oh,
my
so
whole
when he
life
would bust
growing up.
people, he would save some of the good stuff for you.
he goes, "I wish."
Yeah, no, he scares the shit out of me. So
Yeah.
it wasn't until I went to film school in Florida, and actually, it was actually 420 when I started smoking weed. So I go to film
Really?
school. I
Oh,
started in
happy
January.
anniversary.
Happy
Thank you.
anniversary,
It's
man.
14 years today.
Wow.
Oh,
So-
we would have sent you flowers
I
or
know.
something.
We would have baked you a cannabis cake.
So
Sent you some buds, man.
I go to film school. I start in January of 2009, and it becomes immediately apparent that like everyone there smokes weed.
Right.
And April 20th rolls around, and my school, Full Sail University in Winter Park, is having its 30th anniversary on April 20th, 2009. And they're like, all right, they had a presentation. The mayor of Winter Park came out and declared that April 20th in the town of Winter Park is Full Sail Day. And I was like, this is a sign. Like, I'm
Yes.
supposed to be. So, like, my friend was like, do you want to try smoking weed? And I was like, clearly, like, they gave us the
It's
afternoon
a
off,
sign
too, 'cause
from
it was-
God.
yeah, they were like, happy Full Sail Day. You have the afternoon off. Go do whatever you want. And I was like, all of this is falling into place.
Right.
And so we smoked it out of a peace pipe, like a Native American peace pipe.
Oh my
And
God.
immediately
As
I
you
was like-
should.
I was like, why haven't I done this every day of my life? And so
Yeah.
then that's what I did.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Well, I know people, a couple of people that do it for anxiety reasons.
Yeah.
And they say it
Anxiety,
helps
sleep.
a lot with it.
Yeah.
My wife, who's as straight laced as anybody you want to meet, my oldest daughter talked her into getting some that are specifically for pain reasons.
yeah.
Because
Yep.
she has back pain problems.
Yeah.
So to sleep at night, she would take a couple of these edibles these gummies that were specifically for pain reasons,
Yep.
and she started sleeping better from it. So there's a lot of good
Benefits.
reasons and benefits from it as well. It just had this stigma attached to it.
Right.
And I always joke with people that, people always talk about, well, making it legal or not making it legal. Listen, alcohol was not legal for a while, and then they made it legal. I don't know of anybody, any father that came home from work that smoked a joint and then beat his wife and kids.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
But I know I've heard of a lot of them that threw back a few whiskeys and did. So I don't know too many guys that smoked joints and then robbed banks or got in bar fights or anything
Yeah.
like that. So let's be honest about this. It's not the worst thing to be doing out there.
Yeah.
And it's not the
actually-
gateway drug we were all taught.
No.
It's not.
Oh,
it,
no.
all these things that it had tagged to it is not true. It really isn't.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a gateway in that I did try other
Other
drugs.
things.
because
Okay,
I was
you
like,
don't have to
"Oh,
refute
weed-
what I said. Okay,
Weed's
and really
great. I'll
sell
try
it.
other ones, but then immediately found out, no. You just like weed.
Right. Right.
Like, so it doesn't lead you that. It leads you to try and then learn not to.
and
if
realize,
anything.
no, I don't want to.
Well,
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, if you're taking it for pain management or to help sleep or things like that, you're not immediately going to jump to heroin.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? But if you're a person that's doing it just to get high, maybe you will try something else.
Right.
You know, but it's the same thing with drinking or anything
Yeah.
else. It's not just that
but I
one
think,
thing.
but I think that's why it should be treated. I mean, in my opinion, because I work a day job, it should be treated more like alcohol, where I would never think to drink alcohol during my job, just like I would never think someone should smoke pot if you have a job where you shouldn't be smoking
Right,
pot because
right.
you're making important decisions or you're running Teams calls or stuff like that. But after work is done, you should be able to do
If you're doing it for
something like
recreational
that.
purposes, fine.
Yeah, as long
Enjoy
as it's
yourself.
not during your job, it should be regulated
Yeah,
the same way.
absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
I think but the problem is though, like there's still companies, like even my company, you can't do no illegal drugs, even if it's legal in your state. But I would never do that. But what if I did it at night? The problem with pot is it's not like alcohol where the next morning you wake up, you're hungover, you pound some water, it's no longer in your system.
Yeah, it's gonna be in there. For
That
like 30
stays
days.
in your system for 30 days or however
Well,
long,
and
depending on what you're
and it
doing.
depends because at my day job we don't test for cannabis anymore. Like when we do the drug test for
Right,
pre-employment,
yeah.
we don't test for it.
Yeah.
We don't because it's legal in the state. It's like alcohol,
Right.
So,
But you also wouldn't want a service manager or a
well,
service
no, the
advisor.
policy is don't do it. Don't be on it
While
when you're at
you're at
work.
work. Right.
But we don't test for it for pre-employment drug screening.
Right.
You know, you're going to get hired if you test for it. That doesn't disclude you from or
preclude
exclude you,
you.
excuse
Yeah.
me, from being hired if you fail for that.
Right.
You don't fail for that, in other
Yeah.
words.
Now, do you do anything? I don't know. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. Do you have a
I don't
day
do
job?
anything, man.
Do you do anything during the day? Or do you just
I
lay
do.
around smoking?
Well,
doobies?
I got this. I work at a comic book shop. I
Yeah.
deliver
Deliver
papers.
pizzas, like DoorDash. Did I hit any
Yeah,
of them?
so for about a decade, I worked in the real estate industry, processing mortgages and then processing closings, which was a horribly
right.
stressful job. When that kind of started to all go like belly up in the last couple of years, I was also like really unhappy, started looking around because I told that I was unhappy. So I told them that like, I'm going to start looking for other jobs and like the market was going bad. So they were like, well, we'll just let you go. And they gave me like a good severance and everything. It wasn't like they fired me. So that way I could have time looking for a job. So now I do billing for a staffing company, which is way less work. And it is like, it is
Less
so
stress.
not stressful. It is barely a job at all. There are days that go by and I work from home. So like I just get to chill. Like there are days that go by where I'm like just waiting for emails and none of them
so
come.
that you could
so
build stuff out, right?
yeah, and I'm just like watching TV the whole time, and so it's paradise. I love it.
That's awesome.
But
that's
talking
awesome.
about the like weed being legal thing, it's been interesting as a weed comic, having started when weed wasn't legal.
Right.
And-
And to see it transition.
Yeah, and you get a different vibe from the crowd. Whereas like back in the day, it'd be like, I smoke weed, and it's like, oh, this mischievous rascal is breaking the law. And now it's like, I'll be like, oh, I smoke weed, and it's just no one
Big
cares.
fucking
like, no
deal.
One, just saying you smoked weed used to get a reaction on its own.
Not
And now,
anymore.
now it's just people are like, of course, yeah, why would you not? Like,
Yeah, right. Look at you.
We
Of course you do.
we had a friend of ours. I don't know if you ever worked with him, Jay Sute, Dr. Jay Sute, the
I have not worked with
pediatrician.
him.
He passed away, but Jay had his medical marijuana card, and Jay said, he goes, I felt wrong buying it legally. He goes, I felt like I was cheating when I bought it legally. He goes, so every once in a while I'd still buy it from my dealer. He goes, because it just felt right pulling into a parking lot, having a guy pull up on side of me,
Undercover.
and I throw the money into his window, and he throws a bag back into my window. He goes, I felt like I was supporting small business in my community. And Jay just had a way of describing things that made me laugh harder than anybody that I hung out with. He goes, it just felt wrong to walk into a store, show him my
I'll take
card,
that one.
buy it legally, walk out with my shopping bag. He goes, that's just wrong. That's
Yeah.
not how you buy weed.
Supposed to be undercover in an alley.
He goes, I still had to call up my guy once in a while going, I'm not deserting you, man.
Dude, first time I bought weed legally, I thought it was a trick. Like, I was like, there's no way.
Like,
They're just
you're
gonna let
looking
me
for the
walk
hidden
in here.
cameras or the undercover cop or
Exactly.
Well,
something.
also, you walk in when you go to a dispensary. Typically, there's a cop at the door. Like,
Right.
usually
Yeah,
they
for
have a
security.
police detail. So immediately you're confronted with a cop, and I was like, "Oh fuck this! No, I have a New Hampshire
This is-
license. I can't be doing this."
The first time I went to one, I go in and they're asking me questions about what I'm looking for. Are you looking for like a full body thing or relax? What do you? So I'm telling them stuff, and they give me this dark chocolate bar, and the woman goes, "Oh, hold on." She hands me a card. She goes, "This is how you can make awesome hot chocolate with this and everything." I'm like, I'm getting fucking recipes now from these people. What am I in Starbucks?
Yeah,
What the
right.
hell is this place? It was just weird. It was so weird. But
I'll
hey,
have a mocha sativa latte.
yeah, could I get a light soy chai latte with extra THC, please? That'll be next at all your Starbucks. That'll be next.
It might be.
I will totally recharge my Starbucks card as soon as that happens. That'll totally change going through the drive-thru at those places.
No shit. Yeah.
So anyway, let's ask our favorite question as we wrap up here.
All right.
I know this probably has never happened to you, Matt.
Yeah.
Because 12 years probably,
All your shows have been all rosy and fun and
yeah, because
Great.
you're a very funny comic, so I'm sure this has never happened to you. But we like to ask for the funny bad gig story, and that's the gig that when it's happening to you, not so funny. The type of gig that makes you think, well, maybe I should go back to processing mortgages. That might be more fun than this.
yeah.
Exactly.
But a couple weeks after it happens, you're in the green room, you're hanging with the other comics. Someone goes, "Oh, let me tell you about this bad gig I had," and you go, "Really? You call that a bad gig? Hold my beer. Listen to this one. This is your one-up story."
Yeah. So we'll do. Obviously, I've had dozens of these. Literally, the last show I
You,
did.
my friend, are a real comic.
That's right.
Yeah. Literally, the last show I did was one where I got off stage and the host was like, "Give it up for Matt Berry," and no one clapped. And then he said, "Come on, give it up for him," and no one clapped again.
I've had those.
But we'll do a 420 themed one. So I was doing a weekend as comedy club at a casino. I think Chad Daniels was headlining. Fantastic. And at this comedy club, the sound guy used to give me edibles whenever I was there. And usually he'd give me like one big gummy. It was like a gummy that was like 2 inches long. And
Is
I
that
would
one
eat
of
the
those
whole
50
thing.
milligram ones?
Well,
those real big
so
ones?
I never knew the milligrams, but I knew that I would eat these big ones and I would feel stoned, but I wouldn't lose my shit. And so this time, instead of giving me one big one, he gave me 5 little ones that were roughly the size of the big one when combined, but were in fact all the same dosage as the big one individually.
Oh,
And
man.
so
How
it's
many
a
did you
2-show
eat?
night. I do the first show, and after I get off stage doing my set, I'm like, I'm gonna eat them now. I'll have a good buzz for the second show. And I got so insanely hot, like to the point where it's like I was like, I felt like I couldn't hear stuff. I was getting all sweaty. I could tell that like people were looking at me weird, like is that guy freaking out? So I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I go and I hide in the bathroom. And the comedy club's got one bathroom for like the staff and the comedians backstage. And I'm in the bathroom, like looking at myself in the mirror, like splashing water on my face. And I hear outside
From the toilet.
yeah, outside the door, the owner of the club is like, "God damn it, everyone's always in this fucking bathroom whenever I want to go." So I'm like, I got to get out of this bathroom. So I get out of the bathroom. I leave the bathroom. I leave the comedy club. I go find a different bathroom in the casino where I can finish freaking out in a stall, and eventually, fortunately, got back to like a functioning level just before it was time for the next show. But it was there was a minute where I was honestly like, I'm just gonna block the booker's number and drive to New Hampshire. Like, I'm just gonna leave right now, and I just won't work this show anymore, and that's fine. Like, I'll lose this one, but I got other gigs.
Right.
Like,
I like you just accept it at
You
that point.
accept
You know
it.
what?
I'm
That's
never
fine.
working here
I'll
again.
just leave,
I'm
and I
gonna
won't answer the
disappear.
phone.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's fine.
Well, because what you probably had was the big one was probably 20 milligrams, and then you took 20 milligrams and did
yeah, it was
100.
like 100 or
Oh
something.
my
but-
God, that's crazy. So I didn't get to put him up before, but someone named Mike Martineau
Love
said,
that guy.
love Matt when he's on the shows I attend in Manchester, New Hampshire. And then he said, I remember almost getting into a fight at one of Matt Barry's shows where he was featuring at Chunky's in Manchester. How do I know? Like a fight would break out at Chunky's in Manchester.
Yeah, I
Do you
remember this
remember
one.
it?
There was, it was a very drunk table. I don't remember if it was a man or woman, but there was like, it was one of those instances of, you know, you've been on these shows. The crowd polices itself.
Yeah.
Where like,
Oh, yeah.
someone gets drunk and they yell something out, and then someone 2 tables over stands up and is like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Yeah,
Like, it
love
was one of.
those.
oh
It
yeah.
was
Love
one of
those.
those instances where it's like, then I'm like, oh, I gotta, because I'm not quick like that, you know, like, so I
Not when
I
you're on
usually
100
just-
milligrams a pot.
Yeah, I usually just stick to the script, so I'm like, oh shit, and had to just like acknowledge it and be like, that was crazy, right? But yeah, Mike's a good dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he was watching. I don't know if he's still on, but he was watching earlier, and he said,
Matt,
that,
can I
so.
tell you my first time doing edibles?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
What is he like, the fucking pot psychiatrist?
No,
lay
because
down on the couch.
I think he'll appreciate this story. That's all. It was funny. I think I've told you before. A guy I knew, he gives me these chocolate covered blueberries, and he goes, hey, you're gonna love these. They're totally gonna chill you out. He goes, but if you've never done edibles, he goes, eat like 2 and see how they affect you. I said, all right. So I go up. I'm doing a Steen gig, actually at the Gold Room in Portland. And then the next night I was doing Manchester. So I'm staying overnight. So I go and do the show. Great show. I have a blast, a lot of fun. I go over to the hotel. I'm staying at the hotel, and I can't fall asleep because, you know, when you're jacked up, good show.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's right. I got these blueberries. So I eat 2 of them. About a half hour later, I'm like, I don't feel anything. So I eat 2 more.
Oh, the classic mistake.
Yes, but it only gets worse. So another half hour goes by. I'm like, these things don't do shit. So I eat 4 of them. Another half hour goes by. I'm like, I think I feel something, but I'm not sure. So I ate 4 more. So I've basically eaten 12 in 90 minutes. Another half hour goes by. I'm still watching TV. All of a sudden, they don't start to affect me in the order in which I've eaten them. They all hit me at once.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I start to sweat. My heartbeat is like 312 beats per minute. It's February. I got the window open, the air conditioning on. I'm lying in bed with 1 foot on the floor, my hand on the wall. I am in full panic, freak out mode, full panic. Like, oh my God, I thought I was going to die. And that lasted for a couple of hours before I finally went in, took a shower.
Yeah.
Just started to relax and calm down. Next day I call him up. I'm like, Pete, what the fuck did you give me? He goes, what are you talking about? I tell him the story. He goes, you asshole. I told you. Take 2, see how it affects you. I go, I did. Waited like a half hour, nothing happens. He goes, dude, it takes up to 2 hours for edibles to take effect. I go, that would have been nice to know yesterday. Dude, I learned the hard way that night.
How many milligrams was each one of those blueberries?
Each one of them was like, I forget if he said 15 or 20 milligrams.
Oh my
Oh,
God, dude.
Yeah. Because he had a license to sell edibles and all this stuff, and he made them himself.
I'm so afraid of that.
And I was nasty. That was the word. And I learned a lot that night.
Yeah, sitting there.
I learned
thinking,
about
like,
purple elephants and riding submarines into outer space. I learned a lot that night.
Yeah.
You're wondering, do you want to be that 911 call that's on YouTube? Everyone's laughing at later, you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
I
Like
was 1 more blueberry away from being that guy, that phone call on YouTube.
Have you heard the one? There is one where it's like an off-duty cop. who's
Yeah, he eats
taking
the brownies
Yes.
with his wife.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like,
yeah.
time has stopped. Time is stopped. You got to get over here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
Oh, Matt. So what's coming up for you, Matt?
Yeah. So I know
Anything-
you
anything
started, Yeah. Let's.
Yeah, so we're
promote the
live,
shows.
right? So this isn't coming
Yeah.
out. So this weekend, Matt Murphy's Tap Room in Manchester, Saturday.
Oh,
night.
Dave Radigan's room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good place. Good place.
And then next week, on Thursday, I am at the Brook in Seabrook, which is a small New Hampshire casino.
Oh, really?
Oh, very cool.
Oh, wow.
Very cool. And where can people like follow you, look you up, things like that?
Yeah, so on all social media, probably most active on Instagram, at Matt Barry Sucks. My website is mattbarrysucks.com. Mattbarrycomedy.com will also get you there because
Okay.
I wanted a professional sounding one too. And
Good
I
idea.
believe if you type in hotmenshowering.com, that also gets you there.
Hot men showering.
Yeah, I so what I did was I bought
Yeah,
at one
bunch of
point I
domain
bought
names.
hotmenshowering.com and hotwomenshowering.com, and I got a bunch of business cards made that had like a stock photo of a dude in the shower, and it would say like unleash the beast. And I would go places and I'd just leave them all around. And
Yep.
so like if anyone picked them up and was like, what is this? And they went
is
to the
this?
site, it would just go to me.
And then they would be disappointed.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys.
It's
Yeah, a
like,
lot
this
of-
guy is very clothed and isn't in any showers.
yeah. And is in no way hot. No
Whoa.
offense. Sorry.
Well, unless they're into hairy bears or something
right?
like
I
that.
don't know. He's a hairy cub.
Yeah.
I
He's not
think
a
if
big
it's a
guy.
skinny hairy man, they are called an otter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I do.
Not that you've done research or anything.
Wow, the fact that you know that terminology.
Is that
Listen,
what
you
it
gotta
says on
reach
your
every
Grindr account?
demographic.
Is that
There's
what it
more
says
and more
on-
gay people every day, and
I
I
know.
need those shows.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I
Hey,
hear
Seinfeld said it best. If he ever goes gay, meet someone your size so you can double your wardrobe.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Matt, I will include links to your social media, your website and stuff.
Hotguyshowering.com.
I'm going to put hotguyshowering.com in the show links. But anybody listening, if you want to follow Matt, just go to the show links. Everything will be on right there. You can see his social media page and definitely go to one of his shows. Very, very funny comic. You do not want to miss him. Really, really good guy and very funny guy. So definitely check him out.
Yeah, and I hope to work with you again soon, man. Because I think
Oh,
that
yeah, you
was
too.
that was like a Mike Smith show that I think we did. And I
Yeah,
haven't
that guy
talked to
always
Mike.
puts on great shows.
He does. I think he's still doing Tupelo Music Hall. That's another great one that he does. So I gotta
Yeah,
reach
it's
out to him.
booked it up to June right now. so.
Is it? I am very, very bad about reaching out this year, especially because I've been so
too.
busy. I haven't reached out to any bookers. I honestly, I need to do it now so I can start filling in my fall, but I haven't been very good about it. But no, listen, man, thanks again for being on. We really appreciate it. And
No, thanks for having me.
And anytime you want to come on and hang and talk about 420 and pot, and I'll do my Seth Rogen impression. We'll have fun.
No, but we'd love to have you back on, Matt. It was really fun having you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a blast. You guys have a good night.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bud. And that was Matt Barry. I was so glad we got him on.
Good guy.
And
Good
honestly,
guy.
it wasn't planned that he was going to be on 420, but it
No, that was just the
worked
night
out-
he picked.
It just worked out
happened to fall
perfect.
in place. No, but even without that theme, he's just a good comic.
Yeah.
Good guy. So it was fun to have him on
But he's
and
not
hear
one
his
of those,
story.
and he's one of those guys that I've only worked with maybe 2 or 3 times.
I forgot about
You
working
know?
with him in City Steam because you know why? Back then he had the shorter hair. He didn't
Right,
have the
it
beard.
was like working with a totally
So
different comic.
as soon as
right?
he just said that, I'm like, I totally pictured him back then. I remember working with him there now.
Right.
You know, yeah, he's a very funny comic. So definitely check him out. Again, go to the show notes. The links will be there. Also in the show notes is our link to Buy Me a Coffee. But for us, let's be honest.
It's Buy Me a Bourbon.
It's Buy Me a Bourbon.
Yes.
Feel free to help us out. It will help keep the show on the air.
Yeah.
There's a lot of costs with putting these shows on, and that helps us out quite a bit. Also, there is the link to our merch. You can get a coffee mug. You can get a T-shirt. Ace's hoodie.
Yeah.
100% T-shirt. His To Your
Your
Point.
Point. Yep, we got To Your
shirts and
Point
stuff
stuff.
like that. All kinds of stuff now. So, check out the merch. Get something you like, and that helps us out as well. So,
And listen, I know we brought it up, some of our friends on podcasts, so I want to give them a little bit of a shout out because Tom Stewart's been giving us some shout outs on his.
He's got some new episodes.
My
up,
Paranormal Story has some new episodes up, and obviously we'll have Tom back in Scottober. And I'm doing a show with him.
If you want to see why I am scared of paranormal studies, listen to Tom's podcast. It's an amazing podcast.
Yes.
He has unbelievable stories with evidence.
Yeah.
on a lot of his episodes. So, and Tom does a great job of telling the stories. Great music, great just the stories that he puts together. So definitely check out Tom's podcast. Again, My Paranormal Story by Tom Stewart.
And the other one is our buddies over at the Mixtape Podcast.
Love those guys.
I've become such a fan of theirs, and they clearly have become fans of ours because I think we get at least 3 messages from Twisted Kid Matt
He is hilarious.
because all of a sudden you don't think about it, and then all of a sudden you get this message on Instagram going, dude, so and so, and he's talking about like an episode from like season 2,
from like 3-4 years ago or something like that.
What did he say? The most recent one, he said he definitely wanted to be on the show with us when we get someone on.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it is.
Yeah, he comments all the time.
And they invited us. We got to talk to Ken DaCosta and Tom Stewart because I think that would be cool if we went out to Ohio, where those guys are based. And they said they could set up a paranormal investigation out there. So I think that would be pretty cool. If we could do
got to
that in
take
the
this
summer.
show on the road.
Well, listen, we're going to be doing something. I got to work out the details, but we're going to be doing something in August out on Block Island.
Yeah, we're gonna that'll lead to something that comes up in Scottober. That's all we're gonna say.
Yes,
That's all we're gonna say.
Cool.
So
yeah,
a lot of great stuff coming up. Ace and I have some great shows coming up. Just for stand-up stuff, go to my website, ScottHigginsComedy.com, Ace's website,
acecito.lol.
And check stuff out, and we appreciate the support. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
And please tell a friend about us. That's the best way for this podcast to grow. We really, really love comedy. We love talking to people like this, and we'd love to have this, have the listenership grow even more. So tell a friend about us. Give us a 5-star written review. That really helps more people find it as well.
Absolutely.
And, other than that,
we will talk to you
next week.